Hello and welcome back to episode 6 of the No Fire podcast. Thanks for joining us again this week on a lovely Thursday afternoon. We're going to jump right on into the relationship corner. Started off with some hard-hitting topics. So I'm going to pose a couple questions and I'm going to have you answer them, and we'll bounce off each other. We'll see what we think about it. Okay. So the first one is, what do you value most in a relationship?
I guess give and take, I think, because I just feel like it's made such a difference in like our relationship, for example. I am also guilty of being stubborn, and learning how to give and take has made it a lot easier.
Yeah. Okay. So like somebody does something, so you do something else, or what do you mean by that?
I mean, not necessarily. I mean, like, how many times do I come, like, I hate coming home and seeing dishes in the sink, because that's just like a pet peeve of mine.
Right.
And how many times do I come home from work and you've already done the dishes, so I don't have to do them? So
what's the give and what's the take in this scenario?
I mean, you did the dishes, so I didn't have to do them this time.
Okay, I get it. Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's definitely very important in a relationship. It's kind of being able to balance each other out in some ways, whether it's, chores, stuff to do around the house, that kind of stuff, because it can pile up and then it can cause issues in the relationship. So I think that's definitely important.
I think it's just when you have people in a relationship who are like me and grew up with parents who, like, if we were home and they came home from work and like the house was a mess, like, my parents did not play that shit. Like, I can't tell you how many times we like sped clean the house because we lived on the 13th floor in an apartment building, and we can see when our parents pulled in. So that was like, get shit done, because we knew if we didn't, we were going to get scolded for it. Yeah. So I think that way, like, and it's also like mentally for me, I see the tasks that need to be done, and like, it's just, I feel like I can't relax, and I already can't relax. You know that?
Yeah, that's definitely something you're working on.
Yeah, trying.
I think what I value most in a relationship didn't stem from like me growing up as a kid. I think it more stems from previous relationships. I think the most important thing to me now is being able to trust my partner. Because growing up, I had crippling anxiety, like so bad to the point where I was missing school, and school wanted to kick me out because I was missing so many classes because of my anxiety. Like, I couldn't make it to school. I couldn't make it through class, and it posed a real issue. And being able to have trust with a partner, I feel like, I got those flashbacks while I was in previous relationships of when I was a kid and I had that anxiety. I would get that anxiety in the relationship, and then it would cause issues not only for my own mental state, but between me and the other partner. And that would cause arguments and disagreements and whatever, and it never panned out correctly. So being able to have that trust, like, I can literally trust you with anything, and it just makes me feel so comfortable and so secure and safe in our relationship. So I think that's definitely the most important thing to me.
You're gonna make me cry. But yes, I agree. I mean, I've been in a lot of shitty relationships too, and trust is definitely important. And I think I'm just very fortunate that, like, the whole 5 years we've been together, like, I've never ever had an issue trusting you. And I feel like that's why our relationship is so strong. Like, sometimes we struggle with like communicating when we feel certain types of ways, because we have anxiety for different things, and we show our anxiety in different ways. And like, I don't think people necessarily think either of us would have anxiety when they meet us. You know what I mean? We're always laughing and kikiing and making jokes and pushing forward because that's who we are as people. But like, yeah, I think trust is a big part of it. I mean, and being comfortable with you is like, definitely helps too.
Yeah. And I think one thing that I probably do need to work on is the reason that trust is so big to me is because once that trust is broken, then I kind of like fixate on that, and I 100%. Can't get it out of my head. And then I'm second guessing everything that that partner does.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
A million times over. I mean, I can't tell you how many times, in the past trying to put a bandage on things and thinking that I can move forward, but like it's always going to be in the back of your head.
Yeah.
And maybe some people can just like bury that and move forward. Unfortunately, I'm not one of them, and I hold grudges. So
well, that's the thing is I don't hold grudges at all. You don't. But things still run in the back of my head all the time.
Yeah.
Whether I outwardly show it or not, I try and be cool, calm, and collected, but I'm an anxious person. That's just who I am.
Yeah, I'm pretty anxious myself. So
yeah. All right, so I got one more question for the relationship corner. So the next question is, it kind of ties to the first one. It's, what do you worry about most in a relationship?
I mean,
like
trust being
almost kind
broken.
of like, what's your biggest fear, kind of?
Okay, so like, obviously, your trust being broken, like, or our trust being broken, that's always like, you can't. I don't know. I say like you can't, but I can't speak for the general population. Right. It's just how I feel. But oh my God, I lost my thought.
Trust being broken.
Oh yeah. Once it's broken, like we said, you can't take it back. So I feel like that's a really big fear of mine in relationships. But also because I've experienced loss, I constantly have a fear of like losing someone.
Yeah.
You obviously, like, how I feel about motorcycles. I'm getting hot thinking about it. Or anything that puts you in potential danger. Like I like knots in my stomach, sick to my stomach, like always have a fear anytime you leave the house. Like I think, because I think that way because I don't think about our relationship being compromised by like, one of us doing something stupid, because I don't see that happening.
Right.
I see it being compromised by you not coming home someday.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's my biggest fear.
Yeah.
But again, I think that stems from my mom passing when I was young, and just always have like, she was going to the hospital and then she never came home.
Mm-hmm.
So I just constantly think about that every time. And I think, biggest fear. What's your biggest fear?
I think it's not even about, so it kind of ties like the trust thing. Like obviously trust is super important to me, and that trust being broken is a worry of mine, but more so like infidelity, like as like a general thing. So like some form of, whether it's emotional or physical, a relationship being withheld from me and then finding out about that secret relationship is like my biggest fear, which obviously with you, I don't have to worry about that, which is a great feeling, which gives me that security and that trust, which is the important part. But yeah, I would say that's my biggest worry, is like finding out about some secret relationship.
Yeah, I feel that way too.
Yeah.
I think that was always my fear before. I don't know. I don't know. It's different.
Yeah. I mean, it's different.
I mean, yeah, you don't have to worry about me.
Yeah. And I think in every, like each person's situation, depending on their partner, maybe what's important to them is going to be different. Everybody offers different stuff. Everybody's
been through different things
differently. Yeah, exactly.
It's always different.
So it's going to shape what's important and not important, and a fear,
Agreed.
I kind of wanted to go back to the being a kid thing. So you talked about, rushing to clean things up when you were a kid, when your parents got home so you didn't get scolded. Is there any specific memory that sticks out when you were like pretty young that was like a traumatic childhood experience?
I mean, I have a lot of traumatic childhood experiences, but I mean, how deep are we going? Like,
well, I have a long story to tell, like an intense
maybe you
one.
should tell your story and then I can gauge off of my trauma.
Okay. Yeah. So this is going to take a second, so buckle up. So this was probably about 15 years ago, maybe even longer. I was in the 7th grade. Like I said earlier, I had pretty bad anxiety, and this was one of the days that I did make it to school. And my first period class was I think they called it computer science. So basically, this was just like a typing class, really. Is they just wanted to get you better on the computer, but we didn't do any projects to make you actually proficient on the computer. We basically just got better at typing, and I've always sucked at typing, so I didn't really get that much better. But we played a typing game, and that's what sticks out in my head from that class. And so it's basically just a classroom lined with computers. The teacher would basically be like, all right, this is what we're going to work on today. Try and get this score on the game, blah, blah, blah. It almost felt like a free period, but he would get up and check on you every once in a while. But you could get some homework done in this type of class. But it was a more chill first period class as far as like a middle school class goes. And I remember getting to school, getting off the bus, normal day, went to my locker, got my stuff for first period. And I'm walking to class, and it's in this big hallway. So you go through these metal double doors, and you get inside the hallway, and the class is all the way in the back. You take a left, and the door is like on the left-hand side. And as soon as I walk into the hallway, there was this overwhelming smell of gasoline. And it's super weird. Nobody knew what it was, but nobody was really making a big deal about it. It was just kind of like, oh, it kind of smells like gasoline in here. That's super weird. Like, did you smell it? Because I smelled that. So I think they would give you about 7 minutes to get to class. So this is all, I get to class before the second bell rings when you're actually supposed to be like seated in your seat and everything. And before that bell rings, our teacher's not in the classroom, which was weird. But like 75-80% of the kids are there, and people are still coming in. And so we're all kind of just chit-and-chattering like, oh, it smelled like gasoline out there, didn't it? Blah, blah, blah. So we're talking, like getting books out and stuff, hopping on the computer, logging in. And the teacher from across the room, like the room across from us, was the art teacher. She comes in, and she looks almost a little frantic. These memories are kind of like blurred because it was so long ago. She looks confused, maybe worried. I don't know what's going on, but she seems like concerned about something. She's looking around. Then she goes back out. Everybody besides maybe one or two kids and the teacher is in the room, and the second bell rings, which makes it even weirder that the teacher wasn't there. And at this point, we're all like, okay, where's the teacher at? Like, do we have a substitute today? Is he running late? What's the scenario? So we're all just like kind of excited almost because we don't have a teacher in the room. So we're kind of just doing whatever. We don't have to start work immediately. Nobody has to be quiet. We're all just talking. So the second bell rings. We're talking, and our teacher comes in the room, and he's super frantic, hands up in the air, and he's going, he threw it in my eyes, he threw it in my eyes. And the other teacher is standing in the doorway, and she's trying to help him. She's like, should I throw water in it? Like, what should I do? At this point, all the kids are like super confused. Now we're all getting concerned. We're like, what is going on right now? We have no clue what's going on. Our teacher goes into the other classroom with the other teacher. She's like attending to him. I don't know what those kids over there are thinking. Now we don't have a teacher in our room, and we're kind of just hanging out. We're like, that was really weird. Like, what happened to him? We're a little concerned, but at the same time, you know, we're preteens, so we're not all that concerned. Nothing's too crazy at this point. We still don't have no idea what's going on. So over the intercom, we get a lockdown announcement that we're supposed to go on to lockdown. Well, we don't have a teacher in our room. So usually the teacher's like turning the lights off, putting something over the window of the door, locking the door, like doing all that stuff. But we don't have a teacher in our room. So we're like, okay, well, now we're all like actually getting a little worried. We're like, okay, well, what are we supposed to do? Finally, the teacher from the other room comes back in. She's like, so-and-so is like being helped right now. And she turns the lights off. She said, I'm going to have my students come in the room, and then we'll do the lockdown procedure. That takes like a few minutes. So we're all still just talking, like confused. We don't know what's going on. And we're in lockdown for several hours before we really hear anything else. They send us all to the gymnasium, and all the kids get to the gymnasium. So we're all kind of just like looking for our friends and like clicking up and everything. One of my friends goes, oh, there's a Bay News 9 truck out front. Like something happened. They're filming the news out front of the school right now. Mm-hmm. And we're going to do early pickup. Like your parents can come get you. But they didn't really tell us anything. So school ends super early, and we're all a little confused. The parents know more than we do at this point because they haven't really told us anything. And we get home. I took the bus home. I can't remember if my mom was working or she couldn't make it up to the school, whatever the case was. And obviously my dad was off at work. Come to find out, a kid in my first period class brought a army duffel bag full of Molotov cocktails, locked himself in the bathroom in the hallway, feet away from the class that I was in where this all transpired. Come to find out, the SRO was there, the teacher was there, and then the straggler kids who hadn't made it to class yet, one of them was in my class, and then him, the kid who locked himself in the bathroom with the Molotov cocktails in the bathroom, was supposed to be in my class. So apparently the SRO and the teacher tried to get the door open. The kid threw gasoline on my teacher's face.
Oh my God.
And he stabbed the SRO officer, with a knife.
What?
A student, 11, 12 years old, two of them, wrestled him, got the knife away from him, and saved the cop's life.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's wild and sad and scary and kind of crazy for those kids to be the ones to save him.
I know. Granted, it wasn't that traumatic to me because we didn't even find out the details, nor was it really that scary while it was going on. For me, I feel like it wasn't that bad just because everything pretty much went over our head. But maybe if I was a little older and understood a little more, especially kids nowadays with all the school shootings and stuff, that would be scarier because we would have had that potential thought of there's a school shooter. That wasn't a thought back then. That was not a concern that we had.
Yeah.
And I think about that back now, but I wouldn't say that's necessarily a traumatic thing, but it could have potentially been a very traumatic thing, especially if the scenario ended differently, if he ended up carrying out whatever plan he had.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was just weird because I knew exactly who the kid was. Ugh. And he was in my first period class.
Ew.
In the hallway, a door or two down from where I was supposed to be. He was locked in the bathroom.
And it's how did he learn to do the things that he was about to do?
Well, the thing that I was questioning after I found everything out was, how did he get on the bus? It smelled like gasoline in the hallway. So how did he get on the bus with all of that?
Maybe
without
it was
the bus driver
concealed,
saying anything?
Lidded or something, and you only smell it because it got thrown.
And maybe that's what it was. But even just gasoline in a container in a bus, you would smell it. You just would. When you're filling that stuff up, you spill a little bit on the edge. It's going to smell like gasoline.
Ugh.
I can't imagine his parents drove him to school with a giant duffel bag that's clanking with glass bottles in it.
God.
It's crazy.
Imagine being his parents. I mean, you don't know.
And then a few years later, it was around Christmas time, and I was at Walmart with a couple friends. We were in the video game aisle. I saw him.
Oof.
It's oh, I didn't think you would be out of the juvenile detention center.
Maybe he turned his life around.
Oh, I'm sure he did, and I hope he did. I've never really looked into it after that. And I hope the best for him, his mental state, and everything that he had going on. I'm sure there was a reason he got to that point. But yeah, it was pretty crazy.
That's wild.
Yeah.
I guess sticking to something of that nature, when I was probably 7 or 8, and we lived in an apartment complex, the same apartment complex I was talking about earlier, when we could see when they came.
Floor,
yeah. Our bus stop was in the parking lot of our apartment complex, and one morning we were walking down there to go to school. Oh, there's 2 traumatic incidents in this. So there was some type of incident that happened where a husband and a wife were fighting, and I guess the wife burned him with an iron and he like fell through the window.
Oh my God, how high up?
One of the higher floors. Like and I just remember being a kid and coming out and seeing it. That was the first time I've ever seen a chalk outline.
Oh.
And it was a chalk outline in front of the building. And then like probably a year later in that apartment complex, I got stuck in the elevator. Like the second doors were there so you could see them, but like the other doors that you like get out of wouldn't open. Like there's a door you see and then there's a door behind that door.
Yeah.
I could see the door behind that door. There was like gum stuck to it and like just and then when we're trying to like pry it open, I'm stuck between floors.
Oh, I don't like that.
I don't think I have ever been. Maybe that's why I don't like closed spaces now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like it was like a green wall that like separated, and I just remember I could see the bottom of this floor and the top of this floor, and I'm looking through, and I don't even remember who I was with. My mom or it was either my mom or my aunt. I don't remember. I just remember it was traumatizing.
So you're stuck in this elevator. How did you guys get out?
Whatever he was called, the apartment like manager or whatever.
Yeah.
He like worked at the front. I don't know how they knew we were stuck.
Property manager of some sort.
The alarm button.
Use the button?
Yeah, we had to.
Oh, I would imagine. I'd be freaking out.
It happened like I felt like we were stuck in there for so long, but we weren't stuck in there for very long. Mm-hmm. And I just remember being in a complete fucking panic. And it was like picture day or something. My aunt was like trying to do my hair or fix my hair or something along those lines. And yeah, those doors got stuck. Just looked like cement walls.
Were they able to get you up to where you needed to be? Did you guys have to crawl through? Oh, okay. So they were able to race the elevator, or?
I don't remember how we got out. I just remember being
stuck in there. That's what stuck with you.
Yeah.
Stuck.
I remember, I don't think the elevator moved, so I feel like we had to get out of it. Like, they had to physically like open those doors so we can get out. That much I remember, but I don't remember where we were in position wise. I would assume we probably jumped off on that floor, but I literally would not take that elevator for I don't even know how long. I was like, I don't care. I'll walk up the 13 flights of stairs.
13 flights of stairs.
I was a kid. It was like a challenge to me.
Oh, yeah. I guess when you're younger, it's not.
I'll never do that again.
Not as big of a deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that would be pretty traumatic.
Yep.
That is definitely, yeah, I wouldn't like that.
Now that I've talked about that, that's probably the first time I've talked about it since it happened.
Really?
20 years ago, 24 years ago, something like that. Watch, I'm going to start having like
flashbacks of it.
Yeah, it'll start clicking. Like when I saw those ET socks and how all that started clicking, like things like that happen. I black things out. I don't know if it's intentional or just like a defense mechanism. But I black out so much shit, and then little things start like clicking, and I'm like, oh, I remember this. I remember that.
Well, it's not even that I black out things. I just don't remember things until something triggers that memory.
Yeah. I try not to use the word triggered so often.
Yeah, it's got a different connotation now than it used to have.
Yeah.
Triggered. I know that one time when you were on a scooter, you like hit your head or something. Yeah. Do you feel like that was like a traumatic experience for you, or is that just something? I think falling out of the tree was more traumatic because I fell on a root and it knocked the wind out of me. Mm-hmm. And I like legit couldn't catch my breath. Like when I was sitting on the bottom of the electric scooter and my sister Tavia was driving it, and we were like going to this like wooded area, and she hit one of the trees. My head hit the pole of the scooter. Mm-hmm. I passed out. So I wake up in my living room, so like, you know, I had a headache. Remember, yeah, but the root, when I fell out of that tree and hit my back on that root, like that was traumatic. I could not catch my breath. It was like somebody like knocking the wind out of me. They sucked the wind out of me and it wasn't coming back. Well, yeah, when you get the wind knocked out of you, you're trying to breathe and you just can't get any breath in. Nope. It's always a scary moment. When I was 12 or maybe 11 or 12 years old, it was the summer before 7th grade. So before all the, you know, multi cocktail kit stuff happened, a neighborhood friend of mine was having a garage sale, and I had rode my bike over there, and I was interested by the garage sale. I didn't bring any money with me, and I was fascinated by boom boxes and radios and anything that could record on like tapes and stuff like that. I don't know why. I was just fascinated with it. And I was like, oh, I want this. And like asked him how much it was, went home, got the money. And I wanted to, in my head, I was thinking that somebody was going to buy it. And if I didn't get back there fast enough, it wasn't going to be there for me to buy. And I was really concerned about that. So I get the money and I'm leaving my house. I'm maybe 75, 100 feet away from my house. And there's a car coming down the road. And in my head, I'm like, oh, I'm going to beat this car to the stop sign so I can like take a right and like head to the garage sale. And I'm pedaling as hard as I can, standing up on the bike, pedaling. The chain comes off. My foot slips off the right pedal, hits the ground, and I go over the handlebars and just straight face on asphalt and like slid. I split my lip open. I have a scar right here from it.
Yes.
I almost bit my tongue in half. I had like a golf ball sized like, because I had scraped my forehead, but I also smacked my head on the ground. So like it swelled up like a golf ball, and it was also like, had like 2nd-degree burns on it. And I also had this giant like scab on my chin too. So the person stops their car, gets out, helps me walk home, and I walk inside. And my mom is like, oh my God, what happened? And I go in the bathroom and she's trying to clean it off. And she's like, we have to take you somewhere. Like you're going to need stitches or something. And instantly that anxiety like set in and I'm just freaking out. And I'm like, I don't want to, like, we can just fix it at home. Like, I don't want to worry about it, blah, blah, blah. And my mom's like, okay, well, we'll take you to the doctor's office. Like maybe they can do the stitches there. Maybe it's not that serious. Like we'll go there. We go to the doctor's office and we are sitting there for what felt like an hour. It was probably only like 20, 30 minutes, but they have me in this chair and they're trying to clean it up. And they told me it was too jagged for them to do stitches, that I needed to go to the hospital. So this is like an hour into me just bleeding from my face. I end up at the hospital. And I remember I'm laying down on this bed, but I feel like my head is tilted backwards. And they're like, this is going to be the worst part. We have to clean it out. And it felt like they were taking gold dial soap and just rubbing it into it. Well, blood and soap was going up my nose. If you get if you get water up your nose, it's like irritating and kind of like painful. Well, this soap is getting up there and then it's dripping into the back of my throat.
Oh, honey.
And just that sensation and that taste will never get out of my head. They ended up putting stitches in my lip. They were going to stitch my tongue, but it wasn't bad enough. They didn't need to. It had just a giant wound on the bottom of it from me biting into my tongue when I fell. Then they gave me like some cream and stuff to put on my forehead. And I remember having to go back to get the stitches out. Was debatably as bad as getting the stitches put in. Because they don't put you under like anesthesia or anything to put stitches in. They just give you like some numbing cream. And I don't remember it being that bad. I remember the cleaning out portion of it being the worst of it. So this giant scab had formed over the stitches. And in order to get them out, I had to soak the scab and tear it off so that they could cut the stitches out and remove them. And incredibly painful.
That sounds...
Because it was already like super tender, and then having to soak that was the best way to get the scab off, was to like soak it in water, but it was on my face, so it's not like I could hold my face underwater, so I had to hold a wet or damp like paper towel or rag or whatever I had.
Oof, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
Oof.
It was rough.
That sounds gross.
So we can hop over to some more pop culture type news. We started watching season 6 of Love is Blind. And the contestant Chelsea, we just watched the episode where she mentions that people say she looks like Megan Fox. And in Love is Blind...
Be kind.
Okay. Love is Blind, you don't see the other person. So insinuating... And she did kind of say that...
It was more of her dark hair, light eyes combo.
And she did mention that a couple times, which was... probably good that she did, but the other person that she was talking to like was blinded after the fact that she said that she looked like Megan Fox.
But she didn't say that she looks like Megan Fox because
Right.
she was like MGK's wife or girlfriend. Like, you didn't know Megan Fox's name?
She
MGK?
knew. I just don't think she wanted to say it.
Yeah, I think that's part of what she was playing into as well, I guess.
But yeah, social media is kind of taking that and running with it. I saw like a Facebook thing about it, an entire article about how she said she looked like Megan Fox, and people were just bashing her on there.
Yeah. I see a lot of on the other side of it, a lot of girls are like, well, this is my time to shine, because if she looks like Megan Fox, I look like Megan Fox. I'm like,
Oh God.
Jesus.
She's not like ugly.
She's
not an
ugly.
ugly person. She just doesn't look like Megan Fox.
No.
She's-
Agreed.
Yeah. I don't know why people would be like, oh, you look like MGK's wife or girlfriend. They're not saying that.
I just feel like it's disrespectful to not even call her name.
Are there any Love is Blind contestants that you think are going to end up together that we haven't found out yet?
I don't know her name or his. Jessica and Jimmy.
Jessica
that their name?
and Jimmy.
The one I said is pretty.
Jessica, the
She's
one
the
with
only
the
one
kid.
I've said is pretty. Yeah.
Gotta give me context clues. I'm
Yeah,
terrible with names.
But I've only said that she's the only pretty one there. Not that
got
she's the only
kid.
pretty one. She's the only one that
and
I find
Jimmy.
to be attractive. The rest of them are just kind of like,
Yeah. Well, it's not about their physical appearance. It's about their emotional
no. You know who
stuff.
I do like? Oh shit.
Give me some context clues.
AD.
You like her? I think she's making some stupid choices.
I do think she's making stupid choices. However, I just like her personality. Like, she seems like very sweet and genuine and kind. She is making dumb decisions.
She seems like a nice person, but no offense to Clay, but he's clearly a player.
I don't like him.
Yeah, you can just tell by the way that he talks. The one time that he did react poorly, you're like, okay, well, that's what it's going to be like in a relationship.
He's short-tempered and shallow, and two things that I will not tolerate.
He wanted to know about her appearance.
Yes, and that for me, done. Red flag. Hell no.
Yeah, we talked about red flags.
And that's one of them. Literally, while we're watching the show, I'm like, red flag.
Yeah.
Don't like that.
Agreed. That was definitely a red flag.
The whole purpose of the show,
He's
love
like,
is blind.
I want somebody who's petite and...
I want to know I'm attracted to you physically, like...
Okay, well, you're missing the entire point of the show.
Literally.
Here, bud.
Like,
Why'd you come on?
where you signed your name, love is blind.
Some people go on shows like that just to get the popularity, though, and he seems like that type of person.
Yeah.
He's trying to come off like he's real, but I just don't get that at all. It's all facade.
Agreed.
Also on Netflix, they're coming out with a live-action Avatar: The Last Airbender, which I know I'm excited to watch. I don't know if you have any interest in it.
There's also a live action Lilo and Stitch coming.
Is that going to be on Disney Plus? I would imagine.
Don't know, but I want to see that.
I mean, because that's a Disney property, right? Or am I totally wrong?
I don't know.
I feel like that's a Disney thing.
I think it's a Disney thing. Didn't it play on Disney Channel?
I think so, yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's a Disney
The TV
thing.
show, yeah.
Yeah.
It was a movie before it was a TV show.
Yeah, you're right.
Another weird thing I read on Facebook, and maybe you've heard about this because I think it's going around TikTok and other social medias. So there was a stingray, and I don't know whether it was in Charlotte or whether the stingray's name is Charlotte. But anyways.
I literally just saw that.
So there's a female stingray.
Yes.
In an enclosure with all female stingrays.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
So.
But that's not the only thing in the enclosure.
Yes. There's
Okay.
also sharks in the enclosure as well.
Male sharks.
Correct. So the stingray is pregnant. And there's no way for it to get pregnant because there's no male stingrays to impregnate it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically the Virgin Mary of stingrays.
Yes.
But the stingray had shark bites on it,
Mm-hmm.
like scars from sharks biting it, which is like a telltale sign of shark mating.
Yes.
But apparently the scientists there, or the oceanographers, whatever they are that keep track of those enclosures, said that wasn't possible. There's no shark stingray crossover impregnation thing.
Shark
going on.
ray.
Yeah. So they dispelled the rumors of the shark ray combination of the pregnancy. And what they're saying is, let me see if I can get this correct here. Parthogenesis or parogenesis. I think parthogenesis, something like that. Basically, where it's the asexual reproduction of, which usually happens in like insects. I don't think that's a normal stingray thing to happen. And they're expecting it to have 4 to 5 little baby stingrays come out just through willpower. I mean, if stingrays can do it, why can't humans do it?
Maybe humans don't have the willpower to do that.
Maybe. I don't know. That just seemed pretty crazy to me.
That's wild.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a crazy thing. Nature's pretty crazy.
Shark ray. I still vote shark ray. It's not going to happen.
I mean, yeah, it would be cool, but yeah, I don't think it's going to happen. Yeah. But just interesting things going on in the world. Statistically speaking, podcasts only last 7 episodes before they quit. And if these dogs keep fucking being so annoying, we're not even going to make it to 7.
I know.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in to the No Fire podcast. We'll get to see you guys next week for episode 7. You can watch us on YouTube or stream it on Spotify. We'll see you guys next week.